Before humanity set foot on the moon, we never imagined that we could, in a way invisible to the naked eye, gently nudge the hands of time on our own home planet. Yet, in the heartland of China, we did just that. When we used 27 million tons of concrete and 500,000 tons of steel to forcibly install an unprecedented metronome on the Yangtze, the world's third longest river that had surged for millennia, a miracle and a sense of dread were born in the same instant. This metronome is called the Three Gorges Dam. Its creation led to the redistribution of over 39 trillion kilograms of water. This colossal transfer of mass, like an invisible giant shifting the Earth's balance weights, genuinely slowed our planet's rotation by a scale of 0.06 microseconds. This has long ceased to be a story about a water conservancy project. It is the ultimate dialogue a civilization has with its mother river after millennia of blood-soaked memories of devastating floods. It is a monumental wager on the nation's destiny, a gamble that affects the nerves of 400 million people and is still being reviewed by history today. To understand the Three Gorges, one must first travel back to 1931. In that year, it was not war, but a flood that caused China to suffer a population decline comparable to that of a world war. Rainfall in the Yangtze River basin exceeded the historical average by more than 70%, culminating in the most severe natural disaster of the 20th century globally. The official death toll was 145,000, but this was merely the tip of the iceberg. The subsequent famine and plague spread like ripples of secondary disasters. International investigation teams and later scholars provided a more chilling figure. The total number of deaths may have been as high as 3.7 to 4 million. What does this number represent? It surpasses the total deaths of any single battle in World War II. It wasn't until December 14, 1994, at the center of a vortex of controversy, that the Three Gorges project officially broke ground. At that moment, China pressed the start button, and there was no turning back. This was a venture that leveraged the entire nation's strength, with an engineering scale that remains unrivaled in the world today. An epic of concrete, the 27.2 million cubic meters of concrete consumed by the main dam, if used to pave a standard-width two-lane highway, could stretch from Mo, China's northernmost city, to the southern island of Hainan, a journey of over 4,000 kilometers. A marvel of steel, the total weight of steel rebar and metal structures used exceeded 500,000 tons. The steel used in its construction alone would be sufficient to build 7 fully equipped U.S. Nimitz-class aircraft carrier battle groups. A torrent of capital, the total investment surpassed 200 billion RMB. Calculated by the exchange rates and purchasing power of the time, this figure exceeded the total cost of the entire U.S. Apollo moon landing program in the 1960s. It was a national-level project in the truest sense. Over 40,000 builders, like a modern army, fought on the construction site for 17 years. The Three Gorges Dam has a total installed capacity of 22.5 million kilowatts, 22.5 GW. A figure that makes many of the world's energy ministers envious. Dominating comparisons, its power generation capacity is more than 3 times that of the largest dam in the United States, the Grand Coulee Dam, and over 10 times that of Egypt's national totem, the Aswan High Dam. In 2020, the Three Gorges set a world record for annual power generation with 111.8 billion kilowatt-hours. This figure not only exceeds the annual electricity consumption of the entire nation of Pakistan, but would also be sufficient to power Beijing, a city with a population of over 20 million, for a full year without any other power source. Green contribution. This is equivalent to saving nearly 50 million tons of standard coal from being burned annually, thereby reducing CO2 emissions by approximately 100 million tons, sulfur dioxide by 2 million tons, and nitrogen oxides by nearly 400,000 tons. In China's grand strategy of pursuing carbon peak and carbon neutrality, The Three Gorges is undoubtedly the most dazzling piece on the emissions reduction map. However, this money-printing machine has its own troubles. The seasonal variation in the Yangtze's water flow is immense, leading to a significant wet-dry cycle in its power generation. During the dry season, its output can be less than 1/3 of its total installed capacity. Flood control is the primary mission etched into the DNA of the Three Gorges. Its massive flood control capacity of 22.15 billion cubic meters is equivalent to the storage volume of 1.5 Dead Seas. This giant, strategic sponge can, in theory, elevate the flood protection standard for the Xinjiang section of the Middle and Lower Yangtze from the precarious 10-year flood level to the comfortable 100-year flood level. What does this mean? It means that a catastrophic flood like the one in 1954, which killed tens of thousands of people and inundated over 3 million hectares of fertile land, can be effectively intercepted by the Three Gorges Dam. Over the past dozen flood seasons, the dam's role in peak shaving and valley filling has been indispensable. For instance, during the massive floods of 2020, 5 numbered floods formed in the upper reaches of the Yangtze, each crest more ferocious than the last. Through precise storage and discharge scheduling, the Three Gorges Dam reduced the powerful incoming flood peaks by 30%, 40%. But the Three Gorges Dam is not a panacea. When faced with an extreme flood beyond the 1,000-year event, or if its storage capacity becomes saturated due to continuous heavy rainfall, the dam must also open its gates to discharge water for its own safety. At that point, it transforms from a guardian into an arbiter forced to make a trolley problem decision: save the dam or submerge parts of the downstream areas. This reveals a harsh truth. The Three Gorges is a powerful risk manager, but not a risk terminator. To allow massive ships to climb over the dam, engineers designed 2 solutions. The 5-level ship lock is like a staircase on water for vessels, with the entire transit taking about 4 hours. The real black technology, however, is the unrivaled Three Gorges ship lift. This ship elevator can lift a 3,000-ton vessel, along with the surrounding water, 113 meters vertically in just 40 minutes, equivalent to raising a medium-sized destroyer to the height of a 40-story building. It is the largest and most technologically challenging ship lift in the world. In 2023, the cargo volume passing through the Three Gorges historically surpassed 170 million tons, more than 10 times the volume before the dam was built. This reshaped golden waterway is pumping a continuous stream of blood into China's Go West economic strategy with unprecedented efficiency. The formation of the Three Gorges Reservoir submerged over 1,084 square kilometers of land, an area larger than Singapore and the Maldives combined. Living on this land were over 1.4 million residents. They were forced into the largest peacetime engineering-related migration in world history. What they said goodbye to was not just houses and fields. It was also the ancestral clan halls passed down through generations, the auspicious burial grounds of their ancestors, the social networks formed by neighbors and fellow villagers, and the unique dialects and ways of life. The impact of the Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River's ecosystem is profound and almost irreversible. Like a highly skilled but incredibly cold surgeon, it has completely altered the physiology of the Yangtze. A requiem for species, the physical barrier of the dam has severed the migratory and spawning routes for countless fish species. The slowing of water flow and changes in water temperature dealt a fatal blow to aquatic life. The Beiji dolphin, hailed as the goddess of the Yangtze, was declared functionally extinct in 2007. The Chinese sturgeon, a living fossil that survived for 150 million years and witnessed the age of dinosaurs, now has a wild population on the brink of collapse, with breeding having almost ceased. While overfishing and pollution were contributing factors to their tragedy, the Three Gorges Dam was undoubtedly the last straw that broke the camel's back. A geological warning bell. After the vast reservoir was filled, The immense weight of the water altered the regional crustal stress. Water seeping along rock fissures acted as a lubricant for fault lines. This has led to a significant increase in the frequency of micro-earthquakes around the reservoir. Although there is no evidence yet that it can induce major destructive earthquakes, this remains an unresolved risk. At the same time, the annual water level fluctuation of several tens of meters repeatedly soaks and dries the slopes on both banks of the reservoir, exacerbating the risk of landslides and bank collapses. The design standard of the Three Gorges Dam claims it can withstand a 10,000-year flood and a magnitude 7 earthquake. However, in today's increasingly complex geopolitical landscape, it has also become a potential strategic target that cannot be ignored. Should this colossal barrier, holding nearly 40 billion tons of water, collapse due to war, terrorism, or an unimaginable natural disaster, the consequences would be biblical. A water wall tens of meters high would sweep downstream with devastating force, wiping the city of Yicheng, Hubei, off the map within hours. The flood would then charge onward, threatening the entire middle and lower Yangtze Plain, China's wealthiest and most densely populated economic heartland. The lives and property of 400 million people along the river would face annihilation. Today, the Three Gorges Dam still lies across the Yangtze like a silent, steel behemoth. Its turbines spin, delivering light to half of China. Its ship locks open and close, allowing 10,000-ton ships to navigate through towering mountains. Engineers are now using artificial intelligence and big data to try to predict floods more accurately and schedule power generation more efficiently. How should it be judged? Perhaps simple conclusions of more pros than cons, or more cons than pros, are too hasty. The real assessment lies in what we can learn from this century-long game with nature. After the Three Gorges, China paused the construction of large-scale dams on the mainstreams of major rivers, instead shifting more resources toward ecological protection and restoration. This, in itself, is a form of reflection. The final verdict of history has not yet been delivered, and we, along with our children and grandchildren, will all be witnesses to this long trial.